Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Zikona. This is my first episode under the Knowledge and Wisdom podcast. So I'm actually here in Port Elizabeth. This is like my old pastor's house, and I'm here with both my pastors from my literally from my basic foundations of my gospel. This is where I fellowship. I fellowship in Cornerstone Assemblies of God. If you want to know more about that, guys, I've already uploaded a video talking about my journey in Port Elizabeth, so you can actually take that link and then you guys can be able to see what's happening. So today I want to introduce my guest and welcome both of you. I'm not even sure what to say, but I can just say Mama and Dad. Welcome to my podcast.
Thank you.
It's actually a blessing for me that you are my first guest. Like literally my first guest. When I left PE, I never thought I'll come back. Like I thought I'm gonna come back like in a form of visiting, but I never thought I'm gonna come back and do anything of this form. So it is my honor that you are my first guest. I'm really much honored. And I'd like you to please introduce yourself for the people that do not know you. Now there's a lot I can say. About Pastor T, Mama Aleen, but I'd like you to just briefly introduce who are you so that our guests could know who's who.
Okay.
How to introduce yourself?
Oh, I'm Pastor Terry Brindle.
Is that it?
Oh, what else you want?
The father of Cornerstone.
Father of
I am
Cornerstone.
now the father. Yes, now.
You're actually a father of Cornerstone.
Yes.
Yes, they call me the father.
And Mama Aleen is the mother of Cornerstone.
Yes, she is.
Yeah.
Okay. So Mama Aleen, I think I'm gonna come to you briefly. You guys came in Cornerstone, but before coming to Cornerstone, I just want to backtrack a bit. If you can just briefly explain your childhood in terms of growing up, how you also met with Pastor T, because I know what you guys met when you were all both 17 in the UK. So can you just give me that brief part before I can actually come into the calling part?
Yes, no, both from the same town, from working class people, as I said, brought up not knowing the Lord. Although my father used to give me a choice on a Sunday, are you coming with me for a walk or what are you going to do? So I said, I'm going to Sunday school. So that was Sunday school in the morning on a Sunday. Same thing after lunch, it's what are you going to do? Are you coming with me for a walk or what are you doing? I said, I'm going to Sunday school.
Okay.
And in the evening, you'd say, now, what are you doing? I'd say, I'm going to church. I'd been for a walk with him several times, but he walked and he walked and he walked. Too tiring.
Okay.
So I chose Sunday school in the morning, Sunday school in the afternoon, and evensong church. And that was
so you actually went to church 3 times in a day.
And Church of England, because that's what everybody is, unless they're Catholic but that's the church that you grow up with. Whether you go to church or not, you're classed as Church of England.
That's right.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. And even going to Sunday school twice a day and the evensong at night, I never heard you have to be born again.
Oh, wow.
So that is saying something. Yes. So, yeah. And then at the age of 7, when I left school at 15, I went to, not a high school, a secondary modern girls' school.
Okay.
So in those days you got taught how to be a wife and mother. Yeah. And you got taught all the other stuff, but when we did domestic science, the first thing you had to do was start with darning a sock. When you progressed, you had to take along your dad's Sunday best shoes and take the laces out and do the job properly, so on and so forth. And you do all that, how to starch a tablecloth, everything like that. In those days, the collars on the men's shirt were loose, so you learned how to do that. And then finally, when you've done all that, you've got the basic of cooking. So that when you left at school at the age of 15, you were well balanced.
You actually know how to be a wife.
Yeah.
At the age of 15. Well trained.
Yeah, well trained. And then at the age of 15, you'll laugh because I wanted to go into the Land Army. You probably never heard of that.
No, I don't know.
That was in the war, the Second World War. The women could go into the Land Army. I fancied that. But the year I left school, it disbanded. So then I had to think. So then I went to be trained as a cook in the school meal service at the age of 15. So I started as a kitchen maid. So that's doing all the, cleaning up after everybody else and progress until I became an assistant cook. And by that time we were married. We met at 17. I think if we'd been older, we'd have been married sooner. Yeah. His family welcomed me from day one, and I was accepted and looked after. My family was not the same.
No.
Different.
They kept him.
Well, their father was all right.
They kept him a bit at the arm's length, But then, at the age of 18, we were allowed to get engaged.
Okay.
Then, the age of 20, we were married.
So now you've been married for how long?
This coming July, it'll be 68 years.
In marriage.
Yes.
My God, that's good.
July 23rd. This
68
year.
years together.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, it's longer because
It's longer than that because you met in 17.
It's
when you were
about
17.
70 years.
70 years now. We've done what? 70 years.
It's a lifetime.
It's a lifetime.
And when we're in the shopping mall, we hold hands. And we've had comments, and Terry has said to the person, I've been holding this girl's hand for 70 years, since we were 17.
Wow. Pastor T, because I'm still going to come into marriage part, can you briefly explain to us your childhood growing up? I had Mama Aleen grow up, how she grew up. Can you just take us when we were a young boy growing up in the UK?
Well, my family were quite good. My father looked after us quite well, and I was very similar school, but we went to the boys, and then we were taught all sorts of things. But fortunately, I was all in the A stream. But we had to learn woodwork and metal. And that was the same best way that you could go into that age. It wasn't easy to go into anything other than into the workshops and so on. Eventually, I joined Ruston
Ruston Ormsby.
Yeah, that's a big engineering. It was about 6,000 people in. And I was an office boy at first, and then I went into the tool room, where I became a tool maker when I was 21. Then I had to go 2 years into in the Air Force.
To do national service.
National service.
Okay.
It was constant. You had to do it in those years, unless you were sick. And I finished that, and I also have been to the college and got engineering.
Degree.
One?
Diploma, was it?
Yeah, diplomas, yeah. And when I came out of the Air Force, the manager of the works manager at the same company, Russell's, they sent for him. And he said he wanted to go put me into the tool drawing office. So I became a draftsman.
Oh, okay.
The draftsman. Yeah.
And I was sort of in that for quite some time. I get on different jobs, and I finish up designing plastic molds in another company. And that's when we were 29.
Mm.
We got two children, and we were living at a place called Rugby, which is just outside of Lincoln. And then I wasn't very happy in the UK.
Okay.
You're always battling with money.
Okay.
And I looked at all sorts of options: Australia, Canada, and South Africa.
Okay.
Because I saw a documentary about South Africa, and it got hold of me. And then I applied for, and they were straight away, very quickly, given us able to go to South Africa. At first I was a bit like this, because it's a big step.
Yeah.
To
leave your country and come to a different country with family now and children.
And then
it's a big thing.
I remember telling Aleen, I don't know what I'm going to do, and she said, make up your mind. She did.
I actually said, when you've made up your mind, let me know, and then we'll do whatever.
And so I did, and they came back very quickly. And of course, South Africa at that stage were wanting skilled people.
Okay.
Because I was not only a draftsman, I turned out to be also a toolmaker.
Okay.
But I never did that again. I've always been a draftsman, and then eventually in South Africa, I changed completely into purchasing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm.
And that's how it was. And we moved over eventually to working in Nigel. And there, there's some ladies used to get hold of Aleen and talk to her about being saved. And I used to go in the bed, and she was looking at the Bible. She wasn't saved, but she was looking. And she said, oh, look at this. And I would say, okay. And then I like history.
Okay.
So I used to read a lot of history. And then I can't get all the information. I can't remember everything. But Aleen had a big operation.
Oh.
And I had to go at night to see how she was.
So, sorry, Pastor T, I don't want to just to interrupt you. By the time Mama Aleen is going for an operation, are you guys already now in South Africa?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, sorry.
Okay.
No, we were
you eventually made up your mind and came to South Africa.
Yes, that's right.
She was about, we were probably about 32 or 33, but we came to South
We
Africa.
came at the age of 29
Yeah.
to South Africa.
That was which year?
That would be
What?
the year we came. It was 60, 64, 65.
5, yeah,
Mm.
My mother was just 2 years.
65. Yeah.
My mother was just born, was like literally a toddler.
Anyway, after a few years, Aleen got sick, and she had to have this big op. And I went from work, and she looked terrible. And all she said was, "Go away." I said, "Away." If she's really sick about anything, just leave me alone. So I went to the nurse or
The
sister. I said, "What are you doing with my wife?" I was very angry because I thought she was dying. So I got in my car and went home, and I got down on my knees and I said, "Lord, save my wife." And I used the word God, but I didn't know how to say it. Jesus or anything like that. So I had to go back. When we were 15, we went to Lincoln Cathedral.
No, we were actually 17 then.
Oh, were we? Well, that's what. Anyway, it was Billy Grayson
Okay.
was ministering,
Oh, okay.
and there was about 3,000 people there. And they made a appeal, and I know there was about 75 people responded. I actually said to Aleen, "Shall we go?" And she said, "Okay." And then we got,
So you actually asked each other, can we go to the altar call to accept Christ?
Yeah.
Like we actually have a
but
negotiation.
the first thing was, we had counselor.
Okay.
Never said anything about Jesus and getting born again.
Okay.
I came to this thought that this was the worst man that could have possibly,
Have counselled you.
yeah. Because he says, "You must, your wife, or
No.
my girl, sister." And then he said to me, "Your
Your brother.
Yeah.
brother." I never heard anything like this.
So we struggled with that.
And then for about a week, I felt something had happened. I told my parents, and they looked at me aghast. Anyway, after a week, I was more or less back in line. Until we came to South Africa. And that's when it really started. Slowly began to, the Lord became into our lives.
Okay.
And after that, we used to go to the Methodist, and I became the leader of that. And I would listen, I was very involved. And then John Clark, he was a lonely man, but he couldn't preach.
Okay.
And I would be with him and pray with him and this sort of thing. And I usually walk out the door. I could never remember what he said.
Even though he was a lovely man, but you couldn't remember.
He was
No,
a pastor.
I couldn't remember anything he said. And I realised I was in the wrong place. At that time, Phil Edwards, he was an elder in AOG. I somehow got hold of him, or he did, and he spoke about going to AOG. He said, well, why don't you just give it a try? I said, okay. And Aleen wouldn't go.
Okay.
So the kids were me, and we came. It was alive. I went alive from this. She wasn't happy.
So
So
Mama
they-
didn't like the assemblies of God. She didn't like the assemblies of God.
No, it wasn't that. She didn't want to leave her friends. And
Oh, okay.
anyway, we left the Methodists and we sort of went around with other believers who were not in a church.
Okay.
But we used to have breaking the bread and we talked.
Okay.
But after about 2 months, my son, Steve, he went to AOG. I'm looking at. I can't get the word. It's anyway for the young men and women.
Okay.
Okay, and he went. They asked him, and he went. And when we got there, went to collect him. He'd been filled with the Holy Spirit.
Okay. So.
And then I made a decision. I said, we're going to the AOG.
Okay.
She said no. And I said to her, I will take all of your hair and take her.
Okay.
If you
Of
don't
course I
come, I'll
didn't,
take
but-
you by the hair of your head, but you're
Yeah.
coming.
Anyway, she went there, and for 3 months, I was happy, she wasn't.
Okay.
And then I'd been in the AOG for 3 weeks, and we had what they called open ministry.
Okay. Okay.
Do you know it?
I think I know it.
Well, it was very much, there was a thing then in the AOG. And Lawrence, he was a minister there, he said, well, if anybody's got a word, which was really about 5 minutes or 10 minutes,
Okay.
and so on. Nothing. I always say it was about 5 months, but not minutes. I don't think it was. Probably it felt to me.
Like
It was a long time.
Okay.
Nobody's
standing up to
And
go.
I said, okay, if nobody will say anything, I'll say. And I took Ephesians chapter 6 about the armor strong and just made little comments and sat down. And after that, I couldn't want to stop. I wanted to go again and again and again.
Every week.
And Bill Lawrence, he was the principal of their Bible school.
College.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
AOG
Yeah.
Bible College.
And I got doing it with him, and I got the first and the final and everything.
Completed all of it.
I did it in 2 years.
Mama, Pastor is saying that Uti, the time you had to come to AOG, you were a bit resistant, like you didn't want to leave your old church. How did you find your fit now into the assemblies of God? How did you find, like,
You mean back then?
yes, back then, and be like, you know what, this is it, I'm here now. My husband is here. I need to, like, bulging into this idea?
We have missed out quite a bit.
Okay.
Can we recap?
Yes, you can recap. It's fine. Okay. No problem.
Terry had to do his national service.
Okay.
And I had a woman problem. So I had to go to a gynae, and he said, there's a 1,000,000 to 1 chance you'll ever have a baby. You'll have to have a small operation. So then, in the UK, long waiting list. So I said, okay, put my name down. So they did. Then Terry went off to do his national service, and for 3 months, you don't see them because they're training.
Okay.
And so that must have been the 1,000,000 to 1 chance, because when the hospital sent for me to have this operation, I was 3 months pregnant with our son.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's his portrait. So we had the boy, and 3 years later we had the girl. And so she was 4 when we came to South Africa, and Stephen was 7.
Oh.
Yeah. So he started school in Yeovil Boys, just outside Joburg.
Okay.
That's where we stayed. And we stayed, built a house, and moved in, and then he changed from Yeovil Boys to Robertson Primary School.
Okay.
That's where we were staying, in Robertson. And then, as he said, we moved from there to Nigel.
Sorry, Mama Aleen, was this now in UKZ? I mean, was this now in KwaZulu-Natal, or you were now in Port Elizabeth?
No,
back
in
then.
Joburg.
In Joburg. Okay.
Robertson is just a suburb of Joburg.
Okay, Johannesburg. Okay, I get it.
Yeah. So then we moved to Nigel, we know that. And we met these Methodists. Actually a lovely lady. She became our spiritual mother, although she and I were the same age physically.
Okay.
Yeah. And she actually prayed us into the kingdom. She was a real fireball for the Lord. But she was Methodist. She was the choir leader in the Methodist church.
Okay.
She ran a Bible study.
Okay.
That's where I first got contact with her.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and she was there when I first gave my heart to the Lord.
Okay.
Before I had to have that big operation. Yeah. So then I was quite sick after that for quite some time, and that's when Terry went to Anne, and he said, I want to give thanks to the Lord for Eileen's life.
Oh,
God, I said. God.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I want to give thanks to God. So she said, right. She said, now her husband, a lovely man, was backslidden.
Okay.
And so she said, I'll get Alf to pick you up on Sunday night, go to church. So that's what happened. The backslider picking Terry up who know nothing,
Okay.
and off they go to church. And then when I was stronger, I went to church. Then I eventually started teaching Sunday school in the Methodist church.
Okay.
And they were very strict. You had to present, I think it was a Tuesday night, you had to present your lesson to the leader of the Sunday school. And if she was not happy, then you weren't allowed to teach.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what we did. And then, as we say, we became a bit frustrated in the Methodist church. And these lovely people who were born again and spirit-filled,
Okay.
yeah, although it was never preached from the pulpit, your baby had to be christened. It wasn't water baptism or anything like that. But there was about 6 of them, 6 couples that were born again. in there. And then, of course, we were born again, so we joined. But then, you know, the Lord is stirring.
Okay.
And so Phil Edwards was an elder in the Nigel AOG, and he had a jeweller's shop. And I think that's how you came into contact. And he started saying, inviting him along. But in the Methodist Church, there'd been a special cast your bread upon the water.
Okay.
And Gary Strong had come, and the guitar and everything livened up all that. And our children were part of that. And then, of course, when he left, we went back to the old way.
Okay.
So Terry took them along to the AOG, and they just loved it because it was lively and just like to be, yeah. And I, of course, wouldn't go. You know, and to this day, I don't know why.
I do. The devil.
Well, yes.
So you think it's the devil?
The devil was using me, I suppose.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Because then I agreed to go, but every Sunday morning we fight.
Oh,
Every Sunday. And then we only make up as we're going into church, take hold of each other's hand as we go into the AOG church.
oh man.
And I did the
In the initial holding hands. Yeah. And about 3 months, I'd been quite rude. to
3-4
people.
months.
3 months before
Your heart was at ease.
I actually
You fought
was, you know, it was the days of the hymns.
Okay.
So when the last hymn
Was
was
that?
called out, I was out the door. Before they'd finished, I didn't say goodbye to anybody, just went. And this one day in the breaking of bread, the Lord spoke to me and said, you need to make right with these people.
Oh,
I said,
man.
no, Lord. He said, you need to make right,
Oh,
and you need to do it now. I said, I'll do it next week. I can't do it now. I can't do it now. He kept saying, next week. I kept saying next week, and he kept saying now. Now. So when Lawrence Wilson, who was the minister, picked up the hymn book, Redemption Hymnal, I don't know if you know it, we always sang from it, picked it up to call the last hymn. I said, Lawrence, can I please say something?
Oh, man.
So I said, I need to apologize to all you people. I'm very sorry, I've been rude, I didn't want to come, but the Lord has spoken to me.
Oh, man.
And told me I need to make right.
Oh, man.
And the person that put me off, mainly, was a man. And the reason he put me off was we no sooner got into church and praise the Lord, hallelujah. Well, we've hardly got into service and when I said, I'm sorry, ask your forgiveness, he said, hallelujah, and praise the Lord. And he's getting carried away again because of that.
Oh, man.
Accepted it. And I became very fond of him. But he was a stumbling block to me when I first went. And I think he was an elder.
He was.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, also a very nice man. But he was a stumbling block from.
And then you liked it there. Like you
And
actually
then I
enjoyed
settled,
it.
yeah, teaching Sunday school. Yeah.
Got new friends.
New friends.
Okay.
And
Becoming
And
right.
the friends from the Methodists,
Methodist.
if they saw us coming down the street, they crossed over.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So they were actually angry with you guys.
Yeah, they had special prayers for us.
To come back.
Yeah.
Go back then. And then when we were leaving Nigel to go under my Catholic in Durban,
Okay.
the night before we were due to leave, Anne and her husband came to apologise to us and to pray with us.
Oh.
So there was a healing. And shortly after that, I think within a year, Anne had passed away with cancer. So making right and healing
To
everything.
reconcile was...
The time in Nigel, we were under Lawrence Wilson.
Okay.
Very good
Bible
Bible
teacher.
teacher.
Mm.
And I used to get opportunity to minister there. And eventually I began to feel something. And then one of the elders in particular said he knew them, Mike Phil, Hatley in Durban. Said, it'd be good for you to there and get experience from there. And we did. And then we had been about a year and a half. Mike, through circumstances, because 3 times he said we were going to go to a showing.
Okay.
Well, we did do eventually.
But way.
Years afterwards. Anyway, he sent us to Winkles, a small place, near Toti.
Just outside of Hampton Toti.
And we went there purely part of it, but I was like a leader.
Okay.
And then that circumstances, we had gone back to the UK because my mother had died and my father wanted us to be there.
Okay.
But when we came back, we went to a Bible study. I think it was on a Tuesday night in Toti.
Okay.
And Mike was a brilliant teacher. It was different. Lawrence was...
Good.
Yeah, it was good.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Mike had revelation.
Okay.
Mike had... amazing. Anyway, I still believe he is the best one I've ever heard.
What's that?
Very good.
Is he still alive?
No.
No, unfortunately. He had a heart attack when he was 60. Anyway, for about a year and a half, we sat under his ministry.
Okay.
Aleen used to go 5 Bible studies
A week.
a week.
Oh, wow.
You see, he said that.
That was the condition that he took us.
He says,
You sit
you
under
come?
my ministry.
not all of the 5 was, but 3 of them.
4 was with
I was working, so I could only raise 3.
3.
Okay.
3 weeks. 3
3 days a week.
3
No,
Bible studies.
3 a week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because Mike used to move around.
Okay.
Yeah. And I learned a lot. And then through my mother dying, when we came back, he came about Bible study in Toti. And as we were walking out, he said, oh, by the way, you can start full time in...
Start on the 1st of December
Wow.
in Dinglesbury.
Yeah. And it was a small church.
But lovely people. Beautiful
And,
people.
He was moved people around. He believed that the 5-fold ministry that must be go, not one, but go around.
So you didn't stay maybe a year, 18 months at the most, then you moved on to another church.
And after almost 5 years with him, I found the opportunity, because I could fit, it was legal.
It was
legal.
very legalistic.
In fact, AOG be at that stage. And so I got the opportunity to go to Queenstown, and that was about 2.5 years. And then I realised that I needed something, because Queenstown was like a independent.
Okay.
And I realised that I wanted somebody.
A covering.
Yeah. So I wrote a letter to John Bond. He was the leader then of the AOG. And I didn't hear from him for 3 months, sorry.
Okay.
And then we were at Newcastle.
We were on holiday at Newcastle.
We had to go to get some bread. And our son, he'd been there in the
He was on leave from the army.
He was at the home, our daughter's daughter. And he said, "Oh, by the way, John wants you."
Oh, wow.
So
he finally replied.
But
he finally replied to the.
So I phoned him, and he said, "Oh, by the way, in the light of your letter, which is based on Numbers 27, he said, I would like you to go to Western area." I didn't know where it was. I said that, and Aleen was there, and she was saying, "No." No, I said, "Well, brother, can I pray about it?" He said, "No, your answer now." I said, "I'm going."
But we need to recap a little bit there, because in Queenstown,
we
were unhappy. And so we said, "Look, we've had enough. We want to leave the ministry." So we take our 3 weeks leave and go to our daughter.
Oh, yes.
And so she was working in the bank then. So she was at work, her husband was at work. Stephen was on leave from Ladysmith Army Camp. So he was there. We went to buy milk and bread, and Stephen stayed at the house. The phone went, Stephen answered it, and he said he was John Bond. "I want to speak to you, Mr. Brindle, or Pastor Brindle." And he said, "Not here at the moment." So John Bond said, "Well, tell him to phone me when he gets back." So that's what we did. So we neither of us knew where Western area was. And we had agreed with ourselves, look, we've had enough of the ministry. He'll go back into secular work, and I also get work.
Can I just come into that space, Mama Aleen? The time you started ministry, like to be part of the ministry, was that ever your dream, or God just channeled you, or it just happened, or it's something that when you're growing up you're like, I really like pastors, I wish I could be that, or it just happened by
it wasn't at all like that. It after being born again,
yes,
and he'd always liked history, so the Old Testament pulled in like a magnet. So but then he would link the Old Testament to the New Testament.
Still do.
Okay.
And so that's how it started. But the folk in Nigel, when Terry let it be known that he would like to go into the ministry, they said, Aleen will keep you back. She's not with you, she'll keep you back. So, and I think there was a stage when because there was a time in our walk with the Lord, I was way ahead of Terry.
Okay.
And I used to tell him, look, read this, do that. what have you. And it was as quick as this. One night I went to bed, sleep, wake up the next morning, and I realised he's way ahead of me. And then the Lord is having to deal with me.
Okay.
So how he worked it was, in the Nigel Assembly was an older brother called Thomas, Brother Thomas. White-haired, tall, big man, worked on the railways. And he said to, because he used to go into the township just outside Nigel, Dedusa township. And he said, come with me, and you can get ministering to the black people, which is what we did. We sometimes went as a family.
Okay.
And in the week, I went to do ladies.
Okay.
I went, sometimes Stephen went with me, sometimes Nikki. But they wanted the word, but also they wanted, knitting patterns and sewing and all that. So that's how we got in with the African, and how we learned a lot about them. I remember one Christmas we had a big lunch there, and they waited on us hand and foot at this, wouldn't let you do anything, as much as you wanted to, they wouldn't,
They want to serve you.
So that was how we got relative. Even that minister, that African minister, I can't remember his name. Terry had an evening suit.
I only
used it once. The full works, the shirt, the tie, everything. Used it once. And he gave it to this young black minister. And he used to put it on a Sunday, this whole and he really looked good in it.
Yeah, he did.
We had some lovely times there. But then this other elder recommended we go under my Catholic, which is more English, because we are from the UK and more English.
Okay.
So that's how we ended up there. And then we went into the ministry at Binklestrait. From there we went to Newcastle.
Yeah.
Can't remember, but the only place we haven't ministered is the Free State.
So you've been almost in all provinces?
Yeah.
Sure.
That's the way they work.
Every 2 years you
move around.
Yeah. And then going back up to John saying we go to the Western area, we had been 6 weeks.
Okay. Yeah, 6 weeks.
And it's still not sure that it's the place for us.
Mm.
And we're watching Wimbledon.
Sitting side by side.
And I just said to her, I'm at peace.
And I was just thinking to myself, I feel quite peaceful here. And he spoke, and I said, that's the Lord's witness. We're in the right place.
Okay.
So we stayed there.
Yeah, we were there
about 5.5 years, I think.
Yeah. But the welcome we got was zilch.
Yeah. We went to one evening service, and nobody spoke to us.
Nobody greeted us as we went in. They didn't know us. And we didn't know anybody. And we were sitting there, and it was winter time, we were all bundled up, the Highfeld's very cold. And what was his name? I can't remember his Christian name. Anyway, he's an Afrikaans guy. And he's on the pulpit. And he stands up and he said, folk, I'd like to welcome Pastor Terry Brinded and his wife Aleen. And they all look around.
Because they don't think that you're the pastors.
No.
Yeah.
They must have known that they were getting a new pastor.
But they didn't know who it was.
No. And it was Jerry van Niekerk, that was his guy's name. And he said he'd like to welcome us. Then they all looked round and shocked, you know. Yeah.
But Mama Aleen, take us coming to Durban, to PE, to be part of the Cornerstone in 1994 up until 2000.
No, we've got to go first.
Okay.
We found out that a pastor lied, and we went to Worcester.
Oh yes, we did.
And as we were driving from Western area, I didn't know, but Aleen knew, we were out of God.
Out of the will of the Lord.
Yeah. Anyway, we went there and it was all right, but the people never committed.
Lovely people.
You see, Worcester is very close to Cape Town, and it's down to fish there, or
hiking,
Amanus and so on. And suddenly, other people would be fishing or somewhere.
The church would be empty,
and,
a dozen people. But then the following week it'd be more people. So it was.
And I was, because I'm basically
teacher.
The teacher. And the one of the guys, he was treasurer.
Mm.
He said, just give us a
scripture.
We'll
toss it around. We'll toss it around and
that's, they didn't do it. But we knew that
we were out of the will.
And I say, one minister, he lied.
He wanted to leave there.
And he lied.
And so he put our name forward.
Mm.
No prayer, nothing.
Then I said, who is paying for my thing? Oh, he said, we are.
It took up.
There's a lie.
One person had paid.
One person had.
But we only found that out
after.
Yeah. And when we left, of course, I'd seen Donovan.
No, we saw Robin.
Yeah, Robin. Yeah, Robin Jacob. We were at
lunch, minister's lunch, and he said, "So, how are you folks liking Worcester?" I said, "Do you want the pat answer or do you want the truth?" He said, "No, I want the truth." I said, "We've taken a wrong turn. We're out of the will of the Lord." He said, "Let it be known. Let it be known." And that's when you spoke.
I told Donovan, who was then
the leader,
and I think I almost overdid it.
Okay.
But then he said, "Are you interested in know anything about Cornerstone?"
Okay.
I said, "Yes." I said, "I've had a vision, and I've been looked into that church. I know what it looks like."
And he'd never been inside.
And then he got hold of John, because I think he was
still the number one.
And he made, so we went over to Cornerstone, where we stayed for 6.5 years.
And you know, when we saw the mine dumps as we were driving up, we saw the mine dumps. Said, "Oh, now I know I'm home."
And then, towards the end of that time, I began to feel that, and by the way, John Bond wanted us to go to Victoria.
Okay.
But we weren't very happy about it. Anyway, it fell about because there was a bit of a problem at
Victoria.
Yeah. So now we'd been appointed, he then changed it. So we were waiting, and
we actually had lunch with Brother Bond and his wife.
Yeah. And what happened is, he said his wife said they were going to have to
Come to PE.
no, they were going to other place, and
They were going to have to come to PE
yes, for that
3 months.
Okay.
So I said, then I felt that I think the next day, why don't we go down to PE
Oh, wow.
and have a break?
And in the meantime, visit the folk and do the preaching.
So I did that.
So Brother Bond accepted that when you...
Halfway through the 3 weeks, he phoned me. He said, would you like to go to George?
Okay.
I said, well, look, we're right close.
Yes.
We'll take a ride. And we went to the
church there,
we went to the pastor.
to the pastor's
He
house.
didn't say anything what's happening. And then we went to the church. And I never even looked
Wait,
in.
you didn't even go to the pulpit.
I just looked
looked
inside
inside.
and I didn't do right. Anyway, I didn't say anything. And so we left the other pastor and his wife, and we got back coming out of George. And I said, there's something, I don't know what it is. And you said, very similar.
Mm.
But she said, Aleen, she said, get hold of,
I said, remember Kerry South?
yeah, because she'd been ministering with us
Around the different churches.
at Cornerstone. She nearly killed us. She was a prophetess, and she'd go sometimes to 3 in
the morning. If people stayed, she would stay, as long as the
Yeah.
people wanted to be prayed for.
She was very accurate.
Very, very.
And
She's since gone to be with the Lord.
Anyway, what happened is, I know that's what I thought.
No. So he's feeling unsettled when we leave George.
Okay.
So I said to him, remember, Terry, what Kerry Southey said,
Okay.
that there was a problem that she'd been ministering to the pastor there.
Okay.
So he said, yes. So he gets on the phone, he phones Kerry. Luckily she was at home, and he told her, she said, it's not for you. It's not for you. So then we went back up to Cornerstone. But what we do need to tell you, while we were in Western area,
Okay.
our son was killed in a motor accident on Christmas Eve. So it's 36 years this past Christmas that he was killed. I think to myself that going to Worcester was out of the will of the Lord. We needed to be in that area where people knew us and they knew that we'd lost a son. They were very sympathetic, praying with you. And then we went to Worcester, and then there was opportunity to go to Cornerstone.
And we were very happy.
Oh, and we got such a welcome there. Yeah, and it was properly established, Cornerstone elders and everything. Yeah, so, and it was lovely. As I said, we were there a long time.
6.5.
Mm.
And then we went to PE on that 3 weeks. And then we felt, after saying to John that we didn't want to go to George,
So we
used to
settled
go walking around and,
down, riding our bikes.
yeah, well, that was later. Oh no, you're right. Yeah, I know. We used to ride down and go to a park.
Park
And
in
sit
Cornerstone. Sit on a bench and pray and ask
pray.
the Lord to open up.
Is it the right Lord?
Mm.
And we felt about PE. And the minister there, Mark Starbuck,
He had a singing
he and
ministry.
his wife were singers, and they had gone away.
They'd gone overseas.
Anyway,